SummerSlam saw the landscape of WWE changed and Roman Reigns returned.
AEW, Shane McMahon, Tony Khan, backroom deals. Who knows?
It's time to roll around the ring. All right, SummerSlam in Cleveland. First off, shout out to the weather for holding off.
It really did.
So we're in Michigan, right? So Ohio and Michigan weather usually pretty similar.
Yeah.
And man, we had storms all week leading up to Saturday. I have no idea how they're going to get this in. And somehow they had beautiful weather at Cleveland Brown Stadium.
We didn't get the, every hour, like every 25-minute Michael Cole weather report?
Oh, my God, Michael Cole.
Like we got at WrestleMania?
Go back to WrestleMania in Philly and just listen to Michael Cole complaining.
As the night goes on for both nights, he's just progressively gotten colder and colder.
And he never stopped letting us know.
And he will let you know he's freezing his ass off out there. I think he was low-key trying to tell Triple H, like, it's fucking cold out here. Can you get some space heaters?
Well, and shout out to Triple H adding some graphics to the shows. Like, if you notice on Raw, they have, like, the results now and all that. So, for WrestleMania, they had a weather report, and they would have the temperature and everything.
They're just trolling Michael Cole.
And Michael Cole was just like, fuck a weather report. I'm freezing, okay, guys? It's cold.
He's all like Triple H in the headset. It's warm back here. We got space heaters. We got everything.
And what bothered me is it was like 40, 50 degrees and partly sunny when he was saying this. I'm like, you are acting like you are doing this in a 20-degree snowstorm, sir.
Come on, man.
Please. But good weather at Cleveland Brown Stadium for SummerSlam. Outdoor show in Ohio, always risky. Got through it. Main event, though, Cody Rhodes and Solo Sikoa. No Jimmy Uso return. And I only bring that up because we kind of talked about that leading into the show.
I did call that one. It did not happen.
But we did get a Roman Reigns return. Roman coming out, and no words. No Paul Heyman either, by the way. But we did get him taking out Solo Sikoa and Cody Rhodes going on to win retain the title, I should say. No words between those two either. Kind of a stare down, and Roman left before the match even continued on and such. But Roman Reigns is back. He'll be back on SmackDown. How do you feel about his return?
Very well executed. I appreciate the little detail of, one, his music hits, and they make you wait for him to come out.
Yeah.
And then when he comes out, there is no grandstanding entrance. He just beelines straight to the ring.
Right.
He does the little, if you notice, you go back and watch it, there's a tiny little pivot moment where he goes towards Cody and then he hits the Superman punch on Solo.
Yeah.
I appreciated all of that. I thought it was great. Just a little nod, like you said, no words spoken. He looks to Cody, they're looking at each other. Roman just kind of looks at him and then leaves. Like, this has nothing to do with you, basically.
I think the beauty of this story, and we've seen it with the Bloodline, and I know people are going to go back to the Jimmy and Jay match when I say this from WrestleMania, but the fact that it's family, they are going to nail every part of this because it's family, right?
Everything has to be better than that Jimmy and Jay match from WrestleMania.
Yeah, and I know the Jimmy and Jay match is going to go against everything I say right now, but God, Roman nailed that spear, that whole segment, the sell of it, everything was perfect. The promos are going to be perfect because it's family. The chemistry is just automatically there. The timing felt weird. It was great. The timing felt weird, and I feel like that was because Jacob Fatu messed up his leg a little bit.
I do, yeah.
You know, on that splash through the table, because he couldn't get up.
Well, at first so when he hit you see it in the replay, but initially you don't catch that, and so I'm like, is he kind of overselling that? Like, I hurt myself too. But I'm like, why is he sitting on the ground so long? And I'm like, oh, okay, now he must have legit. And then when they go show the replay, you see he hit like by the ankle pretty hard.
I mean, he was in a walking booth the next morning, and he, like you said, oversold it, not selling it, but necessarily hurt. And the timing of when Roman's music hit is what made me think, Fatu's hurt.
Right.
Because it was great, but the timing was random, right?
Very.
Like, it was just Cody hit a cutter.
But how effective was it, though?
Fantastic.
Effective because it was random. Sometimes out of and I'm not saying it's a good thing that happened to Jacob Fatu. You hate to see that, but
sure,
there's happy accidents in a way because they lead to something happening. Like it took out the element of a lot of times we watch a match and we're anticipating a return or we're anticipating something.
Yeah,
and we kind of know as wrestling fans, we know the beats.
Yeah,
this is the moment. This is going to happen now.
Yeah,
this threw us off. It was just I'm literally sitting there watching it, kind of just like laid back in my seat.
Yeah.
And then his music. Whoa, hold on, what? You know, like because you don't expect it. They're both laying on the mat. There's gonna be some kind of comeback fight from Cody. I'm not expecting Roman's music to hit at that point.
Yeah, and I think those are the moments that kind of grab you more, because I think as wrestling fans, and I've brought this up a few times, wrestling fans are pretty smart if you've been watching for a while, right?
Yeah.
We can tell when someone's going to come out, right? Because I feel like the idea might have been Jacob Fatu and Solo double teaming and beating down Cody, and that's when Roman's music hits. So we're trained, right? When someone's getting beaten down 2-on-1, 3-on-1, you're waiting to hear whose music hits and so on. So to have it at the most random time, whether it was planned or not, it added to the moment. And shout out to wrestling social media, everyone's favorite caption to put on social media, and I saw it about 12 different times because of the weekend that it was listen to that pop, listen to that crowd. Yeah, we've heard it 1,000 times. We get it. Thank you. Saw it 1,000 times because of SummerSlam weekend. But Roman, OTC.
Yeah.
Original Tribal Chief, only Tribal Chief.
I'm going to go with only Tribal Chief.
Yeah. Either one.
Either way it works.
Either way it works.
Yeah, either way it works.
I feel like this moment should have given us Paul Heyman.
Well,
and I feel like Jimmy Uso hasn't been seen since right after WrestleMania.
Should Jimmy have initially tried to come back to attack? Now, here's the thing. Let's say if Jacob Fatu doesn't get injured in that moment.
Yeah.
Do you have the two of them beat down Cody, and then when Solo goes for, let's say he goes for a pin after he hits Small and Spike, you have Jimmy Uso come up from the crowd and pull Cody through or pull Solo off?
Yeah, that's what I feel like, whether it was at SummerSlam or leading into SummerSlam, Jimmy Uso's return should have been first, right?
Yeah.
If Jey Uso and Sami
exactly
Zayn, everyone's fantasy booking the original Bloodline getting involved. If Jey Uso and Sami Zayn were going to get involved, I understand that's a more in-depth story that you need to tell to get them back involved.
Yeah.
But in between Jimmy Uso, even Paul Heyman and Roman Reigns should have been the main event of returns. I feel like Jimmy Uso should have been back before SummerSlam or earlier in the match at SummerSlam. Honestly, I could have gone without Randy Orton and Kevin Owens, even more so after what I saw on Raw, which we'll get into. I could have gone without Randy Orton and Kevin Owens getting involved, and that'd be a Jimmy Uso spot. Roman Reigns' return should have been the main event. I would have had Paul Heyman's voice be the first thing we heard, right? The ladies and gentlemen, before Roman's music, right? In this story, because at some point we're getting Paul Heyman back on TV. Yeah. At some point Jimmy Uso is going to get back on TV. I feel like Roman's return in this story should have been the main event of returns.
I really was kind of expecting, it's funny that you mentioned Paul Heyman. When Roman's music hit and there was that delay for him even coming out, you go back to, it was an episode of Raw in 2000 where Kane returned.
Yeah.
And it was his music hits, but Paul Bearer comes out first.
Yep.
And in my mind, I'm thinking, Paul Heyman's going to come walking out.
That would have been perfect.
And I mean, so I'm not upset they didn't. I mean, going back and watching it, there's more to the effect of just Roman coming out. There is no big presentation of his return. Yeah. It's just, I'm here to shut this guy up. And that's it. And then he does his business and he leaves.
It's crazy how, for me, for Roman Reigns, and everyone brings up the crowd reaction, it shows how big of a star he is because, and it's not taken away, he's only been gone for a few months.
Yeah, a few months. Hasn't been that long.
And that reaction was as if we haven't seen him in 10 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's crucial to this story and to that moment. But my question is, what about Cody Rhodes, right? Cody retains, move on, I'm assuming, for the title. Do you have him at all involved in this Bloodline story? Does Solo want a rematch? Does Roman, ask Cody for help? Do you have Cody involved in this Bloodline story or not?
I think by proxy he is. I don't know who else they'd have lined up for him to face, coming out of this. Unfortunately for Cody Rhodes, his entire main event run for the title in WWE upon his return has involved the Bloodline.
Yes.
Has involved him existing in this world of Roman Reigns and his family. And I think that's going to continue because I strongly believe, now I believe we will get another one-on-one title match again where Roman might win the title back.
Yeah.
But before all that, I think we're going to get kind of a loose alliance out of necessity between Cody and Roman.
My worry about doing that and not cutting Cody off from the Bloodline story right now, because I feel like he should have been post-WrestleMania. Then they tease a Rock Cody match. You think at some point we might get that.
You don't know when that's going to happen, though.
Right.
Yeah.
So at least for now, post WrestleMania, they should have done this. For me, this is another opportunity for them to do this. Cut them off that storyline. Because Cody is supposed to be, and don't get me wrong, he's a great face. The dude is over as ever. I'm not trying to preach that he's not. But like you just said it, outside of his 2 matches with AJ Styles, his whole title run, and really his whole last 2+ years, has been connected to the bloodline. And it's like, at this point, if he stays in the bloodline story, whether it's a rematch with Solo, rematch with Roman, teaming with Roman, or involved in War Games or anything like that, you're going to forget that he's the champion and the face of the company because you're more focused and worried about the story that he's involved in, which is Roman Reigns. At some point, The Rock will be back in the bloodline. And I feel like at this point, Cody Rhodes needs to get away from that so he can be his own name and champion the way he's proven that he can. Yeah. He is over as ever. That's not the question here. It's more on the booking of his title run when it comes to there's so many other stories and matches, and I feel like that's what people were excited about with the idea of Cody finally taking that title off Roman, is that title can finally go back to doing other things than just centering around the bloodline. It's still centering around the bloodline, even though Cody's holding it.
The problem, too, is that you have a lot of fans, and we saw this almost immediately after WrestleMania. There's this weird form of Stockholm Syndrome where they were complaining for 3 years that Roman had to lose that title. They are sick of him having the title. We have to have him, and then Cody has to finish the story, and then it happens.
Yeah.
And now it's like, well, no, we don't want that anymore. We want Roman back. Okay, so now that you have Cody, who, by all accounts, he's been a great champion. He's a great face of the company. But now you have people who have this weird kind of buyer's remorse thing where they want to kind of go back to what they knew.
Yeah.
And I think really it's not that Cody, it's not a failing of Cody. It's a failing of the present. Well, ultimately, I feel like he just doesn't need to be on SmackDown anymore, if that's what the bloodline is. He needs to be away from the bloodline.
Yeah. I mean, I'll go back to what I said about Roman and Rock. That didn't need a title. When we were talking about the idea of those two going one-on-one,
right,
that match doesn't need a title. The story is already there. Just like I said earlier, the chemistry is automatically there. The story is automatically there.
Are you talking about for Mania 40 or going forward from now?
Both.
Because I think even more so now it does need a title.
Exactly. Right? Back then I didn't think it needed a title. Right now, I think even more so it does not need a title. Because the story is already there. Solo creating a new bloodline with other family members. The idea of Jimmy Uso coming back. Jey Uso and Sami Zayn are already getting back together. Those two getting back involved. You have a War Games match. Roman and Rock still haven't had their match. The story is already there. It does not need Cody Rhodes. This is hurting Cody Rhodes' title run more than it's helping him.
Everything you just said proves that point. And I know there's going to be a lot of people. There's people that are going to disagree, and they're going to say, no, it's just because Cody isn't Roman and Roman, whatever. Okay, well, look. Again, people were pissed off at WrestleMania 39 because Roman didn't lose.
Yeah.
People were just salivating for the fact that he would lose that title at any point, especially to Cody. Now we have that situation where Cody's the champion, but like you just said, everything going on, there is still this big looming shadow, entertaining as hell.
Yes.
But it's this big dramatic soap opera with the bloodline that unfortunately Cody Rhodes is just being like enveloped in, and anything he does, it's like, well, he's not Roman, and it's like, okay, well, yeah, he's not. That's the whole point of why we were so desperate for him to win the title from Roman.
If Cody continues to be in this bloodline story moving forward from here, it's no different than if Roman would have just held on to the title.
Yeah.
Because we're getting the same thing we would have gotten for the title specifically. It's just on somebody else.
Yeah.
The title is not, we were excited to get the title in front of people like AJ Styles and more, right? And finally have solid storytelling and rivalries with other people involving that title. The title is still centered around the bloodline, even though it's being held by Cody Rhodes at this point.
Yep.
Let's move on to the Judgment Day, another faction that is all over the place, especially after SummerSlam. Two turns, and then we saw, on Raw afterwards what we're doing with it. First of all, Dom turning on Rhea Ripley and joining Liv Morgan, helping Liv retain her title at SummerSlam. And then later in the night, Finn Balor turning on Damian Priest, costing him the world title against Gunther. We'll get to Gunther in a moment. On Raw, full-on babyface Damian Priest comes out, a new Judgment Day, Carlito, JD McDonough involved in them.
Carlito.
With Dom.
I'm sorry. Just go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. I love that you said that because when they showed the shot of Finn and then they pulled out to show everybody that's around him, I popped for Carlito because I'm like, man, good for him.
Good. Thank you.
Yes.
That's exactly what I said. Good for you for finding a place to be, man. And you stuck, and they let you stay there.
Yeah. Tossing his apple.
This is like it's the coolest thing to him.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like, it's
dude.
funny that's a takeaway for me and for you apparently.
Yeah.
And that whole thing is good for Carlito.
Yeah, man. Through all this bullshit, you still have a spot.
I'm happy you have a spot, man.
Good
you got a
for
place
you,
to be.
Hell yeah.
You're not just hanging out and catering, you know?
So we have a new look Judgment Day led by Finn Balor, apparently. I mean, we have a world champion and Liv, by the way, too. And then, so we know where JD and, of course, Dom and then Carlito stand. Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley kind of getting paired off as well, the Terror Twins, as they're called.
Well, it's funny, though. It's almost a full circle moment because they themselves are the original members of Judgment Day.
Yeah.
Minus, of course, Adam Copeland Edge.
Right.
But who somewhere was probably kicking his feet up and being like, yep.
Somewhere, honestly, especially because he's sitting out hurt right now, probably going to miss All in London because of the stupid stunt that Tony Khan had him do.
Very likely, yeah.
If I'm Adam Copeland, I'm sitting back like, fuck. Because this could have been my return.
3-on-3?
Yes. You have Priest and Rhea getting beat down by the new Judgment Day?
I didn't even think of that right now until you just got to that point.
That'd be perfect.
Son of a bitch.
You know what I mean?
Can we borrow? Can WWE borrow him for Shane's over there, right?
Apparently, Triple A Steph Curry, brother.
Tell him, look, 3 weeks. Come on. You could do 2 TV and a match. That's it. That's all we need.
Maybe 1 PLE. We don't call it pay-per-views over here.
Yeah, right.
1 play, please.
1 play.
So, new look Judgment Day. Priest, full-on babyface promo on Raw. Rhea Ripley and him kind of staying together in this. How do you
Liv is a part of the Judgment Day now.
Liv's part of the Judgment Day, right? New look Judgment Day. Finn kind of confirmed that in the backstage segment. How'd you feel about the turns at SummerSlam and kind of the landscape of the Judgment Day right now?
Judgment Day definitely met their old trade deadline. I mean,
hell yeah.
It's a whole new look for them. The turns are very well executed. I think the Dom one, I think we spoke to it as much. Either it was going to happen at SummerSlam or it wasn't. It was going to happen later, but we expected it to happen. I think a lot of people expected it to happen.
Yeah.
And you know what? It was done well because there was an initial early part in that match where he stopped Rhea from using the chair. Where I'm like, okay, wait, is he just going to stop or is he taking? Yeah. But then they kind of made you wait for it, which I appreciated.
They did, and I will say the execution of that one, kind of like the Roman one, felt awkward. Yeah. And it was on the announce team actually.
Yeah.
Because Dom threw the chair into the ring.
Yeah.
And nobody made a note of that on the announce team.
Yeah.
I'm like, yo, Dom just
You're left to do it by yourself at home.
Dom just threw Liv the chair.
Yeah, and then distracts the referee. Yeah,
they didn't sell any of it until he was kissing her.
Well, they were too busy talking about dude wipes and
listen.
Pat was going off.
Pat, love Pat.
I love Pat, but I'm just saying, it's like, we got it, dude. We got the joke.
Well,
we got it.
And it's like, and then listen, and to Pat's defense, they don't tell him anything that's going to happen, right? Because they want his natural reaction.
Which is usually great.
Yeah. But I think in a moment like this, I think you need somebody in Pat's ear like, yo, shut up. You don't
and
have to
you can
tell
tell Corey and Michael Cole are kind of like, all right, man.
Yeah.
Like, let's redirect a little bit, please.
Because we got something going on here, right?
We got
Because Dom full on threw Liv the chair, and they didn't sell that. I'm like, yo, he just turned, and then it made me question, as someone watching at home.
Am I reading too much into that?
Yeah, I'm like, wait, did Dom not just throw Liv the chair? Because they're not making a thing of that.
But then the referee distraction thing was like, okay, we're going full circle here. Yeah.
And then Liv, even the whole finish of the match, they didn't sell it.
Right. So again,
it was literally not till Dom kissed her.
Helped her up and kissed her. And when he helped her up, you're like, okay, there it is.
Yeah.
And the crowd is like, oh, booing him. But it's like, okay, first off, we saw something was going to happen. But I'm like, dude, no one's going to call this. There's 2 spots here where he's blatantly made the turn already. We're not talking about it.
I will say I love the look of Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley together.
Yeah, it works.
It works perfectly. Rhea was already over. She's been over for a minute. But man, people are loving his Damian Priest, babyface turn. Like, and I appreciate getting a good reaction.
Yeah, I appreciate that with him because it's organic. It's not forced.
Yes.
It's just a guy who they got him. He was great in NXT. He came up to the main roster. He was all right. They didn't really know what they were going to do with him. He fell into some pretty good situations, and now he just organically got over with the crowd.
Yeah, I think you said the word organic, and that is the one thing I'll say. I don't need 2 babyface of promos from him, right? Because that's not who he is. It's kind of like a Swerve thing in AEW.
Yeah,
that's not who you are. Don't force it. The fans love you because of who you are. So you don't need to come out and pander to the crowd, as they used to say, and say that, to get a cheap pop, right? You don't need to do that.
That's
right?
Cody's job. You're not Cody.
Cody does that.
Cody's the all-American babyface that go out there and
the
campaign.
Mick Foley of today, right?
Mick Foley.
Yeah, right. Like
right here,
and Detroit, Michigan, right? Michigan. Yeah, no. So Priest doesn't need to do that. People love you because of how much of a badass you are.
That's the thing. He's proven himself. People question, like, is this guy really going to be a good world champion? I don't know. Put it back on Seth. But then when you saw his matches and you saw the way he carried himself, it's like, this guy's pretty, he's pretty good.
It's natural. You don't need to change a thing about him.
Yeah.
You don't need to change his look. You don't need to change his promos. It just needs to be directed toward a new Judgment Day.
Yeah.
That's it. Are you okay with them taking the title off him now?
So going into SummerSlam, I was hoping they wouldn't. I was worried they would. And then they did, and I'm like, I don't hate this because as long as he's not just going to fall back into some kind of obscurity.
Right.
Plus, it's really, really hard to say, I don't want to put my world title on Gunther.
Yeah.
Because it's like, if you could do it now, do it now. You could have waited till the Berlin show, but why not have him walk in as champion?
I just worry that, whenever we get Priest and Finn one-on-one, and it depends on the build, and I have faith in the writing to do it well, but I worry that we're not going to watch that match and go, damn, that really needs a title, right? Even if Finn's not going to win it. And for me, it makes this story make sense for them because Finn's whole point of going against Priest was he wanted to be champion.
Yeah.
He was jealous of Priest being champion. You changed when you became champion. He wanted to win Money in the Bank. Right? Like Finn wanted to be champion. And this story, sure, he took it off of Priest and cost him the title, but now Finn's goal has changed because Finn has wanted to be the guy. He's wanted the title.
Yeah.
He's brought up his SummerSlam injury multiple times. So if anything, the turn could have happened after Priest beat Gunther, right? To keep that world title in the Priest-Finn feud. I feel like that would have made more sense in terms of Finn's reasoning. The story is good. I just worry that the match is going to need a title.
I hear you, but I think that if I'm putting myself in a production meeting, a booking meeting, it's probably a concern of we could do that, but at the expense of Gunther.
Right. See, here's the thing, and let's shift to Gunther now, because watching Raw, my opinion I just said elevated even more. Because you have Gunther open Raw, and here comes Randy Orton from SmackDown.
Yeah, I'm like, what?
And those two will have.
It's great to see Randy always.
Shout out to Randy. Love Randy.
I'm like, why are you here?
Randy Orton's getting a world title shot at Bash in Berlin. How do you feel about that?
I don't think he's gonna. I'm sure the match will be great.
Yeah,
I don't think he's gonna win it.
No,
but I'm sure the match will be just fine. Would be really nice if we can get to this Orton Cody thing.
So that's the thing. And so I'll start off with the obvious argument that people are going to be like, I don't care. The brand split, right? Like, again, Orton's on SmackDown. Yeah. Not only, like, I appreciate, like, Theory and Grayson Waller were on Raw. Instantly, the second their music hit, Michael Cole starts explaining why they're here.
Yeah.
And that Nick Aldis and Adam Pearce had an agreement to let them show up for a night because they had beef with Miz and R-Truth. Great. How does it make any sense that not only is Randy Orton coming over from SmackDown to Raw, he's not switching shows, that was never said, but he's going for their champion? How does that make any sense? So that's the obvious argument, right? Yeah. Which is, again, they've been better this year, but it's been a consistent argument with the draft and the brand split. Like, what is the point of it if you're constantly doing it? Yeah,
let alone you're showing up and the former champion hasn't even invoked a rematch clause yet.
Yeah.
And you're like, hey, by the way, I'm going to get a shot now. If I'm Damian Priest, I'm like, no, you're not.
Right.
After I get mine, you can come and face me. But again, so I don't know, man. I don't think maybe I've missed the whole boat on it. If there was ever an official brand split in AEW, which I don't think there was, it's just kind of like
they just casually put the same people on.
It's
Collision
just kind of like unspoken. So I'm like, WWE should just do the same thing. And on some Mondays and Fridays, you'll get certain people. Sometimes you won't.
And that's and I feel like you need to stop with the draft if this is what you want to do. And don't get me wrong, I understand the story, right? Gunther beat Orton in the King of the Ring final. There was a botch finish, right? The shoulder was clearly up. I understand the story. The match is going to be great. So outside of the brand split, you mentioned it, the whole Orton Cody thing. Yeah. You've been building to that. They've had backstage segments about it. Literally 2 nights prior, he came out in the Cody main event to help Cody against the Bloodline. And then 2 nights later, his focus is on not only a whole different story, but a whole different show.
And a whole different championship.
Yeah. So, like, people are waiting for the Orton Cody thing. And here's my thing, too. If Orton Cody, people think WrestleMania.
Yeah.
The fact that we haven't got Rock Cody, as time goes on, I not worry, but I wonder that match is going to be a WrestleMania match. Because I thought it could have been SummerSlam.
Well, here's the thing: you might get Rock and Roman at WrestleMania, and you could get, you could get Rock and Cody at like the Royal Rumble.
I could see that too.
Which it sounds. I mean, the Royal Rumble is like a mega event, but it sounds very like you're settling for an event with that match.
Right.
Because it should be a SummerSlam. It should be a WrestleMania. It should be even a Survivor Series at this point. I think that they need... So if they're going to do the Orton-Cody thing, either you get that at WrestleMania or you get to it quickly, because there's a lot of other stuff that Cody needs to potentially be involved in.
And I worry for the Orton-Cody thing, Orton going off to Raw and losing to Gunther is, for me, going to have him lose a lot of steam going into this Orton-Cody feud.
Yeah, how do you come back from losing on the other brand and be like, hey, I want a title shot now?
Yeah, I'm going to go watch you lose to Gunther, and then you're going to show up on the next SmackDown in the future or whatever and be like, I want Cody now. Well, you just lost to Gunther. And Orton's been hot so far because they haven't really put him in title pictures where he can just rack up some wins and stay relevant. It's Randy Orton. I know he's relevant, but, stay, on top of his game to get this Cody feud going. And he's going to go lose to Gunther and kind of take away that steam.
Well, the only way you can get away with that is you get, like, psychotic Orton back.
Yeah.
The one
that's the type of Orton we need.
What was that thing he had? Allegedly the explosive rage, something or other.
Oh, they did give him a condition when he was a shaved head,
he was just, like, kicking people in the head, punting everybody.
Did he need to shave his head bald again for that?
I think he just needs to do it.
Yeah. I think whenever that story happens, I think that's the Orton we should get, or some version of it.
Yeah, I don't want some, like... It's a match of respect between two, like, no dude.
That's not Randy Orton.
No. That's never been Randy Orton.
No, Orton doesn't do respect on TV. No. Not even a little bit.
Not even a little bit.
Drew McIntyre beat CM Punk. Seth Rollins got involved.
Yes.
Took a GTS. Punk chased Drew out of the arena. We'll get to what happened to Seth in a moment, but how did you feel about the execution of this match, and what do you feel should be the next step for these three?
It was my match of the night.
Okay.
I loved it, every bit of it. I thought it was great. I thought the right person won. I think there's been a lot of piling on Drew lately, and I know a lot. Like, there's people that are like, "Well, it's CM Punk's first match back in a long time." I'm like, I don't care. He's been getting the best of Drew McIntyre in like an entire storyline for months now.
He's also been back for a minute,
right? And it's time to let Drew have some shine here to keep this story relevant. Because if he keeps losing, keeps being made to look stupid, and keeps getting beat, and it's just like, what are we doing here? Let's just move on from it then.
Right.
So I was happy with the outcome. Coming up next, though, I don't know. I mean, I really could see a match. I think you had brought it up a while back where there's some sort of triple threat situation. I don't know if you get that to be, the winner is number one contender, however they do it, but there's obviously still a lot to go between these three, and they all have great chemistry in the ring with each other.
They do. And the worry I have with that is, when do you do each match? Right, the assumption is Punk and Drew needs to happen again because Punk feels like he got screwed by Seth. Let's also keep in mind, Drew still has Punk's bracelet. Punk chasing Drew out of the arena tells me that's far from over. So when do you do each match? Bad Blood, Hell in a Cell makes a lot of sense for Punk and Drew, right? And I feel like that's the only option for Hell in a Cell, only because they haven't given us the full Punk Seth story yet. If they've been telling that Punk Seth story a little more and there was a few more altercations, Hell in a Cell can make sense for them. I think that has to be Punk Drew. I just don't know if a triple threat happens before Punk Seth and goes one-on-one. And if that's the case, When does the one-on-one match happen? When does the triple threat happen? Right?
We might forego a triple threat, honestly. I mean, just given what we saw with Seth,
right?
This past Monday. But I definitely agree with you. I think Hell in a Cell, if they do Hell in a Cell, Bad Blood to kind of commemorate that event, it has to be Drew and CM Punk. I can't think of another feud going right now.
Right.
Even if you say, what about like Roman and Solo? Like, not even that.
No.
There's so much animosity built here, even beyond what Shawn Michaels and Undertaker had in '97.
Right.
This is just, it has to be Hell in a Cell. Right. They have to commemorate that at this event, and I think that you do this. You have Seth Rollins go off to whatever program he's going off into for the moment.
Bronson raid.
So we saw, and then we will have to work our way back around to that eventual WrestleMania match with CM Punk and Seth Rollins.
Yeah, I think so. I feel like a triple threat could work in the sense of getting us Drew into the title picture, because I feel like Punk needs to go over in Hell in a Cell.
Yeah.
But do you just end Drew's story there with Punk there? And then he just goes off and does something else? Do you think he would be okay with losing to Punk in Hell in a Cell and then just moving on? He wouldn't. So I think after Bad Blood, you could give us the triple threat. It could be number one contender for the world title. Drew goes over in that match because that sends Drew into the title picture, and that leaves a lot of animosity between Punk and Rollins because, of course, whoever didn't get pinned in that match is going to blame the other for not being in the title picture, and that just adds a little to that. But does a Seth Punk story or potential WrestleMania match need a title?
Absolutely not.
No.
And I was about to say, too, the triple threat match that you get, you may not even actually get a triple threat match. These could be the last three guys in the Elimination Chamber.
Royal Rumble.
Or the Royal Rumble.
Right.
So let's say it's Gunther at WrestleMania, either of these three. In that scenario, I'd pick Drew McIntyre.
Sure.
And then you would get your non-title big rivalry feud with Punk and Seth Rollins.
Yeah.
That's lined up. You're good to go.
I think a lot of people automatically, because Punk and Seth Rollins were supposed to be WrestleMania for the world title last year.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are trying to fantasy book how you get that title back in that feud this year, and I don't think you need it.
I don't think you need it.
I agree. I don't think you need it. But does a potential Drew McIntyre Gunther match seem WrestleMania worthy? We've seen it for the IC title, right? At a SummerSlam here in Detroit.
Yeah.
Gunther beat him.
Yeah,
you good with putting those two at WrestleMania?
I'm fine with it if the story and build-up can make sense. Sure. You don't want to have them just be in a title match because Gunther needs an opponent. Right. But I think it would make sense, the two of them, especially if Drew comes out of that match or that whole feud with Punk and Rollins, and you can incorporate Gunther into that, and then that leads into WrestleMania. I think it all could work out.
Yeah. Just have Gunther call Drew poor, and then there's your story.
Drew's for the streets.
The Scottish streets.
Dude, did you see that sign? I think it was at SummerSlam. Someone had a sign that said Damian Priest is for the streets.
Oh, yeah. Whatever story you need to tell.
Whatever it takes, man. Get
Make
that feud
going. We mentioned it real quick. Let's get into it really, really quick. Bronson Reed demolished Seth Rollins on Raw.
Yeah.
How'd you feel about this segment?
I was confused, but let's go. Let's see what happens. I liked it. No, I confused in the sense of like, where's this coming from?
Yeah.
But I'm a fan of Bronson Reed.
Yeah.
I think he's like criminally underutilized.
Yes.
For a guy his size and his athletic ability.
Yes.
We had to endure Seth Rollins facing Omos. I feel like this is quite an upgrade if you're putting Seth against the big man.
When you have someone Bronson Reed's size and strength, of course, and athletic ability, he needs to be booked dangerously.
Yes.
He needs to look. He doesn't need to win every match. No. He can get disqualified. He can whatever. He needs to be dangerous. And this is the first time since he's been on the main roster. He's had some good matches. He won the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, which means absolutely nothing. He's been in elimination chambers, and he's been involved in title matches and such. But this is the first time he's actually been booked to look dangerous.
Yes.
Doesn't mean he's going to beat Seth. Doesn't mean he needs to be champion and win every match. He just needs to look dangerous.
Right, and Seth Rollins is the kind of guy where his character can be put in a situation where he looks like the odds are stacked. This big monster beast hill is going to beat him up and crush him.
Yeah.
All you need a guy like Seth Rollins to do is survive that match.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to get like he makes his miraculous comeback and beats down and squashes Bronson Reed. No, just survive the match and Bronson Reed can get disqualified. Whatever you want to do, I'm looking forward to it.
Some title changes. Every match at SummerSlam had something happen.
It was such a good show,
right? But it wasn't overbooked.
No.
It was either a title change.
That's why it was such a good show. It made sense. Yeah.
It just didn't feel overbooked. 3 title changes: Bron Breakker, the Intercontinental Champion; Nia Jax, the Women's World Champion; LA Knight, your United States Champion. Which of these 3 title changes was your favorite?
Well, probably Bron Breakker, just 'cause I've been waiting for that to happen.
Yeah.
But LA Knight, I think, is going to be the one for me because it was do or die in my eyes with him.
Right.
There was no reason for him not to win this title this time around. He, like we've talked before, he's had a lot of big opportunities where he always come up short. This is the one I'm watching. I'm like, they need to give this guy this title.
Yeah. Nia Jax makes sense. I mentioned this before SummerSlam. I don't need Tiffany Stratton running in. Please stop reminding me that she's Miss Money in the Bank. And then she doesn't even do it. She
when
doesn't
I
even
saw
attempt
that
to
part,
cash in.
I thought of you, and I'm like, Justin's probably hating this.
Yes, I'm like, why is she out here? Good match, makes sense for Nia Jax to be champion. LA Knight's my number 1. I agree, it was do or die. Logan Paul's title run for layers of reasons has kind of run its course. It makes sense, and I appreciate, as I've mentioned a few times, you don't do the obvious thing of just because it's in his hometown, put him over.
Well, they did the obvious WWE thing, which was kind of a Vince thing of because it's your hometown, you're gonna get screwed over,
right?
You know, but I mean, you know, again, it's funny because I'm watching that and I'm happy LA Knight won. I'm also at the same time I'm like, you know what's really funny about this? Logan Paul is like a first ballot Hall of Famer now,
right?
Like he's so good,
yeah. that springboard
it's just crazy.
moonsault.
Which the crowd, it was funny because the crowd immediately was like so appreciative of that.
Yeah.
And then when he landed, like, oh, you're still a piece of shit.
Yeah. the second he landed, the whole "you still suck."
You still suck.
I'm like,
that was pretty cool, but you're
shout out to
still
Cleveland.
an asshole.
Shout out to Cleveland, man. Yeah, no, that was definitely my top title change. I love that Bron Breakker went over as well. I agree. Because Sami Zayn, I'm sorry, bores me, and he showed back up on Raw in that damn flannel. And I'm sorry, I bring that up because you're boring. This version of Sami Zayn bores me.
I feel like you need to be his personal stylist.
I'm just saying, like, it just bores me. And the little 5-second handshake with Jey Uso, I'm like, there he is.
That's the guy.
That's the Sami Zayn, right there.
Yeah,
that 5 seconds of right there.
That's the one you wanted the whole time with the IC title.
Even though he did it in the flannel.
But doesn't it just make sense though that Bron Breakker, the presentation of Bron Breakker that we've been getting, there is no reason for this man to have lost that title opportunity back to back. I'm glad he didn't.
Oh yeah, and there's no reason for him to drop that title anytime soon.
No, he needs to hold on for a little while.
Let's move on to AEW. You kind of mentioned it earlier. Shane McMahon, a picture of a meeting between him and Tony Khan. No official word on what it was about. Right. Nothing has come of it yet. There was a quote he gave to Busted Open Radio, and shout out to Bubba Ray over there, and getting this quote, and he kind of talked about it, where we just met and talked about our interest and love of the business and so on. Typical.
I'm sure.
Yeah, typical answer.
Like a great politician.
Shout out to Shane. What's your last name again? Yeah, sounds exactly like it.
You learn from the best / worst. But
how do you feel about this conversation happening?
First off, I love the picture when I first saw it because it's just this. It looks like someone kicked in the door and just snapped with their iPhone. Like, holy shit! Like,
what?
You see Shane's face just like a blur, huh?
Yeah. And then whoever took that picture just sprinted out of the room.
They were
right
immediately
after.
fired when they found out who it was.
Gone.
No, but I think I'm interested in what's going to happen here. I'm not concerned about but you're a McMahon and he's Tony. I don't care. It's not Vince McMahon.
We
it's
see
Shane McMahon.
We see Stephanie.
Yeah.
We saw her at SummerSlam.
Shane McMahon has kind of notoriously always done his own thing outside of his dad's company and WWE. He's tried to.
Yeah.
And I really feel like this is an opportunity for. I don't know what they're going to do.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's just going to be some sort of consultant, if there's some other kind of business merger that doesn't have a lot to do with in-ring product. Who knows? But Shane McMahon, by all accounts, smart businessman, seems, by all reports, a good guy. And I don't really need to see him have matches anymore.
No. Look what happened to Adam Copeland. They had him jump off a cage. Tony Khan's going to have him jump off a building.
Look what happened at WrestleMania 39.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, glad you're here. What the hell happened?
Yep.
Help him out of the ring,
and all
please.
of that was jumping over Miz.
Thank God Snoop Dogg was there to save the whole segment. Shout out to Snoop.
Hall of Famer. God.
But no, I'm interested to see what happens with this. And like you and I think both agree here, we don't need to see Shane McMahon flying around the ring
I agree.
Or off of a cage or anything.
I will say I'm very intrigued by this. I am. I feel like the smart decision here is to let Shane help book this thing in
please.
AEW, because he is, and I know he who shall not be named, but the point is he's been around this business. He obviously has done it.
Yeah.
He has done it at a high level. He has done it with right next to the people who were running the ship, right? From his father all the way to his sister. His mom was involved.
To his
brother-in-law now is running. Yeah. Like, he gets it.
Not even that, but just being around the minds he grew up around, the Arn Andersons of the world, the Paul Heymans, the people like that, the Briscoes, all those people, Pat Patterson. It's when you talk about somebody, and you speak about his dad, you can learn a lot of valuable, important, useful things from scumbags. It's just it is, and it's like if you can take the good things you've learned on how to run a business, to someone who, I know the AEW faithful are going to be pissed off when I say this, who clearly has no idea.
He doesn't get it.
How the hell to run his show and his company.
Well,
have someone come in, even as just a consultant, even as a silent business partner, who could say, hey, maybe we should book things this way. Hey, maybe we should run these kind of shows. Maybe we should do this, cut back on this. That's all you need. I
mean, that's what it is. It's organization, right? I mean, that's what AEW lacks, because you appreciate Tony Khan's passion for the wrestling business, the fact that he wanted to invest his money in the wrestling business. We love it. We love to have a second brand to compete.
Absolutely. We just need structure.
We love to have a second brand, not even just to compete, but just to have some of our favorites still be on TV.
Yes.
And now you have that fun atmosphere in wrestling, and you never know who's going to show up where. Are they going to work together? Someone's contract's up over here. Do they show up over there? We love that in wrestling. But when you are just a fan of wrestling, I don't care what your name is, with a lot of money, and you've never wrestled, you never worked in wrestling, your family, none of it, right? There's a whole mindset that it cannot just be, you can't just wing it and figure it out.
Right.
Everybody who is running every wrestling company everywhere has some form of wrestling background, whether it's their family or they did it themselves. Why is Triple H so damn good at what he does? Because he did it for decades at a high level.
Yeah.
And he gets it. I get people say, he learned from Vince, he did it himself.
He did it himself, but he also he sat in all the production meetings, all the booking meetings. He sat right there next to all the minds working it.
Right.
And learned. And that's like you do anything else.
And Tony Khan, again, appreciate the passion, but this is the perfect opportunity. We've said it multiple times. Bring in someone who knows how to do it. You combine Tony's passion with the brain who actually knows how to organize a show in terms of booking it, and AEW could go way up very fast.
I agree. I think if Tony Khan did what a lot of people sometimes need to do, no matter how passionate you are, no matter how much you're willing to invest, which shout out to him because he does. You could tell the passion is there because he invests everything he has into it. But sometimes the smartest and best thing you can do for your product is to just get out of your own way.
Yes.
That's it.
Well, and it's very obvious what the issue is with AEW because of the fact that, there's times TNA was on a downfall, and it's like, okay, the talent's not really there. When they lost that first rise with Kurt Angle and Sting and Samoa Joe and AJ, right? The talent's not really there. AEW has talent upon talent upon talent.
Yep.
So when you have those type of names and the show is still tough to watch at times, the issue is very obvious, right? Because you can't blame the talent because we've seen these guys be very entertaining at a very high level for years and years and years. So you can't tell me someone like Bryan Danielson is the issue as to why the story doesn't make sense. This is the perfect opportunity for AEW to right that wrong. Now's the time.
Yeah.
And you'll never get an opportunity like this because it's a McMahon.
Yeah.
And say what you will, but that's who got wrestling where it is.
Yeah.
Right? That name is what got wrestling where it is.
You'll get a bunch of old heads older than me that'll throw a bunch of other names out to you, the Bill Watts and the Gagnes and dude, it's the McMahons.
It's the McMahons. You have a McMahon right in front of you.
You can hate it as much as you want, but the bottom line is it's the McMahons.
A few more things to get through before we get out of here. I just mentioned Bryan Danielson. His All-In match with Swerve, officially a title versus career match. How do you feel about this stipulation? Do you feel like it just confirms that he's losing?
I do. I feel like, I do.
Yeah.
I feel like Swerve's going to get the honor of that, which is huge.
It's huge. It's a great moment for Swerve, especially at Wembley.
I don't see why you sacrifice a much needed big time title defense, successful title defense for Swerve in your biggest show.
Yeah.
When it could just be, for a guy who's gonna kind of like part time and retire anyway.
Right. And this is again perfect example of the story not making sense, even though the match and the wrestlers are top notch. Bryan Danielson, this feels backwards. Yeah. You have told us over a year ago you're done full time.
Yeah.
In the promo that this match was announced, he started off by saying, "I'm not signing another contract. I need to be home with my family," and then you agree to a career versus title match.
Yeah.
I wonder how this one's gonna go.
Exactly. I feel like you're just telegraphing spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Before I finish the rest of my promo.
Yeah. By the way, I'm gonna lose it all in.
Yeah.
That's basically.
So if you guys want to watch, feel free.
It'll be a good match.
I'll tell you what happened now. I'll save you 30 minutes.
I'll save you $50. I lose.
Right.
That's what it kind of felt like. The match is gonna be great, but this story seems backwards. If you wanted to do career versus title, you shouldn't have made Bryan Danielson's whole contract thing public.
And somewhere in the back, Shane McMahon is watching that segment. And he goes, "This is why I'm here.
This is what I was talking about.
This is why I'm here. This is
and
what
that airport
we
in
just
Texas,
discussed this 3 hours ago. This is why I'm here."
He just gives the arm in the air and walks out.
You know what? I'm out.
On Raw, the Wyatt Sicks in-ring debut in the main event of Raw, defeating American Made. Real quick, pivot. How do you like that name for Chad Gable and the Creeds?
I don't hate it.
No?
Because there's worse.
No, it feels like Team Angle plus American Alpha equals American.
And
Made.
I don't know, they're all matching, and it just looks like
cute.
a unified team. It's cute.
I like it.
It's nice.
It felt very similar.
It's very bromantic.
Yes, it felt just like Kurt, Charlie, and Shelton, right?
Yeah.
Same singlet.
No, the
everything.
vibes were there.
The
Big
colors
time.
were very similar too.
2003.
I like it. I do like that faction. How'd you feel about the Wyatt Sicks, their debut in ring?
So I'm gonna say something, but I want to preface it before I say it. I liked it.
Okay. Oh God.
I did. I think they all were able to showcase individually what they bring to that group.
Yeah.
Great seeing Eric Rowan back.
Oh, yeah.
And the crowd was very appreciative that he was there.
Very much so.
The presentation, everything is A+. The entrance, the music, the Bray Wyatt, the lantern with his rocking chair there. He is the sixth member.
Yeah.
But for me, once that all is done and the bell rings and we get a match, emotion aside, for those of us that remember, I'm watching Raven's Flock.
Wow.
That's my feeling of it. And it's not to degrade, because I know this is supposed to be like a big, it's a big thing for everybody. Otherwise, I'm with it, but I'm just saying from the standpoint of I'm watching the match and I'm like, when the match is going, the specialness is kind of done for me. I think the presentations will get you more, And it's not a dig because I liked Raven's Flock. I'm just saying that's what I'm getting in the end.
Is it because we're not getting because they look kind of out of the masks in ring?
Yeah, but it's so I can say yes, but at the same time, I don't think anybody's expecting them to wrestle with mask on.
That's why I feel like the presentation was great. They're all very good in the ring, which helps, right? In a story like this, you worry that it's cool, you got the mystique, but can you go? Because if the wrestling wasn't there, it kills the story.
Am I the only one watching though? And I'm like, it's Dexter Lumis.
Well, and that's my thing, and that's what I appreciate.
Yeah.
I appreciate that they say that's Dexter Lumis.
Yeah.
They say that's Joe Gacy. They're not acting like
these are characters that you've never seen before, right?
And they're a whole different person and whatever. They call them by their names. They take the masks off to show who they are. I think they all got a great look even without the mask, at least for the sake of the match, right? The added effect of Uncle Howdy sitting in the chair with Sister Abigail in front of him.
I do like, yes.
Right?
Yes.
I thought this was done to perfection for them because of the fact that we're not you're giving me a mysterious, creepy storyline without trying to make me believe that magic is real, right? Or that ghosts are real. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
This is still Dexter Lumis. This is still Joe Gacy. That's still Bo Dallas. We've dug into their stories to let you know that we know what their backgrounds are.
Yeah.
We know who they are. And the fact that they get in the ring, they're still very good in the ring. They don't come out in masks. They don't come out looking like someone completely different. It still looks like who they are, just a creepy version of who they are.
I'm sure I'm the one person out of 100 that's has some kind of complaint with that.
Yeah.
And when I say it's Dexter Lumis, it's just because I'm watching it and I'm just thinking of Indy Hartwell and the whole thing with them.
Yeah.
And I'm but that's not even this character anymore.
But I feel like all of them, and I mean this in an appreciative way, have a very scary look to them that it still gives off what they wanted to give off during the match, even without the masks.
It all works it all works. Like the look works.
Yeah.
There's no like drastic departure where it's like, you know, they're the Wyatts, and then when the bell rings, they're Fandango. Like it's just
right.
No, I mean it
Shout
works.
Out Fandango.
Yeah, right on. God, that music's in my head now. Oh man. He beat Jericho.
At WrestleMania. At WrestleMania.
I will die mad. If ever there was a learning tree, then
yeah, right.
Okay, but anyway, sorry. Salty about that all these years later.
Yeah.
No, I like, and I know that if I go proclaim that from the mountaintop somewhere, I'm going to get a bunch of backlash, and that's fine.
Sure.
That's what I got after watching it. Now, am I happy that they're there? Yes.
Sure.
Do I want to see more of this? Of course I do. I want to see more of this. I kind of wanted them to eventually get away from Chad Gable, but
for sure.
Let's wrap this up and then move on.
You need to.
But no, it was fine. It was great.
Britt Baker was suspended and fined in AEW. Was not on AEW TV for an altercation with MJF backstage. Some words were exchanged. Of course, not physical. Thankfully,
right.
Of course, not physical, but words were exchanged. Speculation about her bringing up his significant other and so on. How do you feel about Tony Khan going as far as to suspend and fine her? She just came back. She's got a big story with Mercedes going into All In right now. How do you feel about that?
I would think that you just kind of get the story over with first. And then and you do the punishment is pending. I don't know. This whole thing seems really stupid. Like, okay, squash it backstage, do whatever you got to do, but the show must go on.
Especially with the history of AEW already when it comes to backstage shit.
Yes.
Squash it.
Yeah.
First off, fining and suspending her because she said some mean things to MJF. And don't get me wrong, no, MJF is a big star.
Yeah.
But you can't favor your big stars to that extent.
No.
Right? Like, come on.
People don't re-sign their contracts because of shit like that.
That's my point, right? You're going to favor the big... I said something mean to your prized possession, so now I'm... You know what I mean?
People don't forget that treatment. They remember that come contract time.
And then it puts more eyes on your company.
Yes.
Because this was clearly...
For the wrong reasons.
Right. This was clearly a situation without even being there. I'm sorry. I can't imagine a Brit... First, you talk to wrestlers, and how many times after they retire do you hear about fights and arguments and such that happen backstage after the fact? This type of industry, you're going to have that shit. And if Tony Khan's solution to what's happened in the past is suspending someone every time something like this happens, that's going to piss more people off than it does help anything, right?
Yeah.
It's called we're grown-ups, we're adults, squash this shit and let's move on.
Yeah.
Because now you got more eyes on what's going on backstage, more headlines. I feel like this wouldn't even be a headline if Britt was never suspended.
I hate that Tony Khan does these things and makes me like want to go to a place where I have to defend Vince McMahon and how he would have handled it. Vince would not have done that shit.
Correct.
There would have been a lot of like talking down to and screaming going on, people getting cussed out by him.
Sure.
But I'm sure for the sake of the show and the fact that if you're a prominent feature on the show, we're going to put you on the show. The fans are going to see you. But that big push you probably had coming, fuck that.
Yeah.
Like that's gone now.
And that's the respect you have for your boss to take it, right? Because I know I fucked up. And this again adds to the lack of respect that people have for Tony as a boss.
Prime example. Triple H the farewell thing him and the Click did when Diesel and Razor were there. He was the one that took the blunt of it. That whole King of the Ring push you had coming in '96, Austin's getting that now, not you.
And
it all worked out beautifully.
I was going to say, because Triple H didn't go anywhere, because he respected the boss and said, I fucked up.
And I mean, it's well documented. Triple H will even say it in documentaries, interviews. Vince told him, you're going to eat shit for a little while and you're going to have to like it.
Right.
But eventually you'll come out the other end.
And that's what it feels like here. Again, especially with the history of AEW, you did not need to put more headlines and more attention. If you didn't touch this situation, if Tony would have just been like, guys, talk it out, get away from each other, don't be near each other backstage, let's just move on, right? No one's talking about it, no one knows it happens, we move on.
Someone would have leaked it to Meltzer, though, I bet.
That's fine, but then
but you want, to your point, you want Tony Khan to, for God's sake, dude, be the boss.
Yes.
And you're the teacher in the classroom. Separate the students.
And again, it's called favoritism because does she get fined and suspended if she has the same interaction with Christian Cage.
Yeah.
With Nick Wayne.
Yeah, there you
know
go.
What I mean?
Good example.
Right? Like, no, but if MJF gets touched, if Chris Jericho gets touched back then, if CM Punk gets touched, if the Elite gets touched, you're going to fine, suspend, and almost fire. Like, Jack Perry got sent away for how long because of what happened, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, if you continue to do this, you're going to hurt a lot more than you're going to help. And that's just put more attention to AEW backstage.
Agreed.
Didn't need to happen this way. Jacob Fatu, Tama Tonga, tag team champions as a SmackDown. How long do you want them to hold the titles?
They should be unbeatable.
Sure.
But I said that about, Jade Bianca too. So
I agree. I think they need to hold this.
But shout out to how that worked out for the women's tag team champions that we see all the time.
Yeah, by the way.
And their endless title defenses.
And they had one on SmackDown, which saw them disqualification finish.
Oh my God, what have we done?
These titles need to stay where they are because if the bloodline does get back together, Usos versus Fatu and Tama Tonga at WrestleMania for the tag titles.
I'm with it.
I'm all for that. Let's do it. Joe Tessitore coming to Raw, play-by-play. Starting in September, Michael Cole over to SmackDown, which goes to USA. Do you feel like we needed to touch the commentary teams at all?
It's not always a necessity. I don't hate the idea. I just think that they try this a lot. They try to, because they have this working relationship with ESPN, they try to delve into this like legit sports and pro wrestling thing, which fine. I don't mind. They did the whole thing with MMA with Jimmy Smith. That was cool too, but my worry is you're always going to end up with like a Mike Adamle situation. Yes. It's like, really vet these people first before you know what you're doing. And, it's like, but I think it'll be fine. I'm willing to give it a shot.
I like Joe Tessitore. Yeah. I feel like the talent to be a sports play-by-play guy and a wrestling play-by-play guy are two different things.
It's so different.
It's very different. People bring up Pat McAfee. He's a color guy. Yeah. He literally just needs to react to shit. Yeah. That's different.
Yeah.
I don't think we needed to touch things here. Even though we're switching channels, I think Corey and Wade do a great job. Michael Cole and Pat McAfee are like best friends. Yeah. They work. I don't think you needed to touch anything.
Well, even in professional sports, if you take someone that's been a long-time baseball announcer and say, hey, next week you're calling the NBA.
Yeah. It doesn't work that easy.
What? Hold on. I got to recalibrate my entire presentation. Right. Even more so if you say you're going into the world of sports entertainment now. Okay, so I have to learn characters and storylines now.
Yep. It's a whole different world.
I wish him well. I wish good luck.
Lastly, Odyssey Jones finally showed up on Raw.
Didn't even know he was still there. Didn't even know he was still there.
Shout out to man. He has been in catering, it feels like, for a decade.
Look, if you can live in catering that long and still collect a solid check.
I just feel like he was like draft class.
Hero to us all.
It feels like draft class of 2012 or some shit at this point. Like it feels like it's been that long.
I feel like, was he in 2012 he got drafted?
No, I don't know if it's been that long, but it feels like it's been that long.
Has he just been in NXT all this time?
That meme has been a thing forever. That
Shawn Michaels walking to, dude, you're still here?
Whoa.
Well, we should have.
The New Day needs some help.
We should have sent you up there a long time ago.
Shit, my bad, dude.
Why don't you speak up? Say something. Jesus Christ. Closed mouths don't get fed, buddy. Let's go.
Man. Let's say something.
Were you not going to say anything for the next 5 years?
Is it random to put him in a New Day, or what are we doing here?
You know what? It's not, but it's also kind of I don't know. It feels like a sad confirmation to me that we're not going to get,
I don't need... The New Day is the New Day, right?
Yeah.
Like
as a tag team, they're fine.
Yes, Kofi, Xavier, Big E, even though he's not wrestling,
but that's what I'm saying. Don't put a third guy in there and be like, so Big E's not coming back, right? So we're just gonna do this. Like,
and Xavier Woods doesn't seem like he's happy with it. So it's like, are we trying to break him up? Are we trying to get some spice in the New Day? Or they have some dissension? The New Day doesn't need to be touched. No. Just let them be the New Day.
Just let them be.
Don't add. Don't subtract. Just let them be the New Day.
They're at a point too now, Xavier Woods and Kofi, where you don't even have to be presented as the group of the New Day. You can be two singles. Okay, for instance, the Shield. Let's say all three guys were still in the company together, right? Let's say Ambrose was there or Mox.
Yeah. Right.
You can be single stars. I don't care what you're doing in your other feuds, whatever. If ever a moment came where you needed to team up, hey, we're the Shield tonight. Right. Hey, we're the New Day tonight.
Yeah.
Great. I don't need you to be like, well, we got to restructure this group. No, you don't have to.
You don't need to touch it. This is the one group, obviously one of the greatest of all time. They could be the exact same, kind of like John Cena, right?
Yeah.
Rey Mysterio.
Yep.
Don't change.
Dudes who've never changed their gimmick.
Don't
change the colors.
Never don't give. I don't need dissension. I don't need threats of them breaking up. I don't need added members. I don't need subtracted members.
Adding members, it was pretty cool. And Kurt Angle was part of the show for one night.
God.
He looked like he was living like a Make-A-Wish moment. He was so happy, dude. You see a smile on his face. Like they're all tough. And he's just like, he was so stoked to be wearing that like tactical vest, dude. Cute. It had like the little price tag on it from Target. He was so happy. It was so adorable. I wanted to hug him. Go ahead.
This little tag they gave him that said "For Kurt."
It's like when he
in the corner.
Okay, we could do a whole show on that. But we won't do it right now. Shout out to Kurt Angle and all his the little cowboy hat. And then the moped with the helmet when he was feuding with Undertaker.
Sexy Kurt with Shawn.
Oh my God, that dude.
That dude is fantastic.
He's such a gem.
He is fantastic. But no, we don't need to touch it.
Yeah. And we don't. Yeah,
and Odyssey Jones is sure as hell not worth it. Neither is Final Testament.
Odyssey Jones, you're welcome to this show.
Love it.
And
we'll get you out quicker than WWE did.
You will be brought here and put in front of a camera.
We will feature you
quicker
right away.
Than they did. And this man here also said that you are not worth the time or effort on behalf of multi-billion. I didn't say that.
And that's where we remind you that Roar Around the Ring is available every week. Find us on YouTube at Roar Around the Ring. He's that dude, Daryl Taylor. I'm Justin Valentine. Talk to you guys very soon.